Have you ever felt exhausted from work, worried about the future, and trapped in endless thoughts? Today's story follows David, a man consumed by the pressures of life, forgetting how to truly enjoy each moment. But an unexpected encounter with a wise monk changes everything. Will David find the peace he has been searching for? How can we live fully in the present instead of being controlled by the past and future? Join us as we explore this story and uncover the power of mindfulness, the key to finding happiness in every breath. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more meaningful stories. David was a man in his 30s, working in the high-pressure field of finance. His life revolved around numbers, endless meetings, and never-ending plans. Every morning he woke up to a flood of emails waiting for responses, a packed schedule, and projects demanding absolute precision. His job required not only speed but also intense focus because even the smallest mistake could lead to serious consequences. To his colleagues and superiors, David was a successful man, a model of diligence and discipline. But in reality he felt trapped in an endless cycle. Long working hours stretched late into the night, hurried meals with cold takeout on his desk, midnight calls from clients or bosses. All had become an inseparable part of his life. Beyond work, David also felt burdened by the expectations of his family. As the eldest son, he was expected to succeed and achieve the best in life. His parents were proud of his career, but deep inside, David knew he had never truly been satisfied with his life. During the day he buried himself in work, hoping that staying busy would help him forget the emptiness he felt. But at night, when darkness fell, he lay restless in bed, his mind endlessly replaying past mistakes and worrying about an uncertain future. Regrets played in his head like an unending film, while fears of what lay ahead weighed heavily on him. He could no longer remember the last time he truly felt relaxed. The small joys of life, a peaceful afternoon, a meal with friends, or simply a good night's sleep, had all become luxuries to him. David knew he was exhausted, but he didn't know how to stop. The weight of David's worries followed him everywhere, into meetings, phone calls, and even rare moments of leisure. His mind was never truly where his body was. While colleagues laughed during lunch breaks, he was mentally drafting reports. While his parents spoke to him over dinner, he only half listened, nodding absent-mindedly while his thoughts remained trapped in an endless cycle of worries. Even simple pleasures, like the aroma of fresh coffee or the warmth of morning sunlight, went unnoticed. Each day blurred into the next, a monotonous cycle of responsibilities and expectations. He scrolled through his phone during conversations, checked emails in the middle of meals, and could never quite shake the feeling that he was running behind, chasing deadlines, chasing success, chasing something he couldn't quite define. One night, after yet another exhausting day, David woke up suddenly, his heart pounding. A wave of anxiety gripped him, making it hard to breathe. He sat up in bed, staring at the dim glow of his phone screen. It was 3 a.m., and yet, instead of resting, his mind was racing through spreadsheets, unfinished emails, and mistakes he feared he had made at work. He pressed his temples, trying to silence the noise in his head. Why did it feel like his life was slipping through his fingers? How long had it been since he truly enjoyed a moment without thinking about the past or worrying about the future? He couldn't remember. For the first time, a thought crossed his mind. What if he had lost something far more important than a promotion or a project deadline? What if, in his pursuit of success, he had lost himself? The next morning, feeling drained and unable to focus, David decided to take a walk. His legs carried him aimlessly through the city streets until he found himself standing in front of a small temple nestled behind a grove of bamboo. He hesitated for a moment, feeling oddly drawn to the peaceful surroundings. The temple's wooden gate stood slightly ajar, inviting him in. Stepping inside, David was met with an atmosphere of serene quiet. The scent of burning incense lingered in the air, and the soft rustling of leaves in the wind was the only sound breaking the stillness. A deep sense of calm washed over him, contrasting starkly with the restless chaos in his mind. Seated near the entrance was an elderly monk, his face lined with years of wisdom yet radiating a profound gentleness. He watched David for a moment before speaking, his voice warm and steady. "You seem troubled, my friend. Your mind is heavy with thoughts." David hesitated before sighing, his shoulders slumping. "I don't know how to stop thinking, master. No matter what I do, my mind keeps running, about work, about mistakes I've made, about what might happen next. I feel like I'm constantly chasing something, but I don't even know what it is." The monk nodded knowingly. He gestured toward a nearby wooden bench. "Sit with me for a while. Rest. There is no rush here." David sat down, suddenly aware of how tense his body was. He felt out of place, as if he didn't belong in this space of stillness. Yet, at the same time, he felt an unfamiliar but welcome sense of relief. Like for the first time in years, he was allowed to just be. The monk picked up a teapot and began pouring tea into 2 small cups. The slow, deliberate motion caught David's attention. Every action seemed unhurried, yet filled with intention. The monk handed him a cup, the warmth seeping into his fingers. "Do you taste the tea?" the monk asked, smiling slightly. David blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "Often we drink tea while our minds are elsewhere, thinking about work, worrying about tomorrow. But at this moment I invite you to simply taste the tea. Feel its warmth, notice its fragrance, and let it be the only thing you focus on." David hesitated, then took a slow sip. For the first time in what felt like forever, he wasn't distracted. He wasn't thinking about deadlines, emails, or expectations. He was simply tasting tea. The monk's eyes twinkled. That is mindfulness. Being fully present in the moment, without allowing the past or the future to steal your peace. David sat in silence, the words settling deep within him. The tension in his chest loosened, and for the first time in years, he felt something he had forgotten existed: peace. David sat silently in front of the old monk, his heart still heavy. He couldn't remember the last time he had truly paused to experience life. It seemed as if he had always been caught in an endless cycle, where even when his body was still, his mind raced with worries and tangled thoughts. The monk poured tea into a small cup, steam rising in delicate swirls, carrying a faint, soothing aroma. Placing the cup in front of David, the monk smiled gently. "Pick up this cup of tea, but do not drink it yet. Feel it with all your senses." David hesitated for a moment but followed the instruction. He carefully lifted the cup with both hands. For the first time in what felt like ages, he noticed the gentle warmth spreading through his palms. He observed the tiny ripples on the surface of the liquid, inhaled deeply, and took in the subtle, calming scent of the tea. "Now take a slow sip," the monk said. David took a small sip. The taste was slightly bitter yet refined, gradually spreading across his tongue. In that moment there were no meetings, no endless emails, no worries about the future. There was only him and the cup of tea in the present. The monk nodded in approval. "Do you see? When you fully focus on this moment, your mind no longer drifts between the past and the future. That is mindfulness." David looked up, his eyes filled with a hint of wonder. He had never thought that something as simple as drinking tea could bring such clarity and peace. "But I always have so much to worry about," David said slowly. "Work, family, past mistakes. I can't just focus on the present and ignore everything else." The monk gently placed his hand on the table. Mindfulness does not mean avoiding responsibilities or forgetting the past. It simply helps you realize that you don't have to let your mind be consumed by these thoughts. You can acknowledge them without allowing them to control you. David remained silent. The monk's words felt like a soft breeze, clearing some of the heaviness clouding his mind. "Start with the small things," the monk continued. "When you eat, truly eat. When you walk, truly walk. When you breathe, truly breathe. Let your mind be where your body is." David gently grasped the cup of tea in his hands. He felt as though he had just touched upon something deeply important, something he had unknowingly lost for so long. After his conversation with the monk, David left the temple with a strange feeling. It wasn't immediate relief, nor was it a clear answer to all his problems, but something inside him had started to shift. The monk's words echoed in his mind. Let your mind be where your body is. That evening when he returned home, David tried something simple: having dinner without checking emails or thinking about work. He looked carefully at the food in front of him, felt the warmth of the soup, smelled the fragrance of the rice, and noticed the crispness of the vegetables. For the first time in a long while, he truly tasted his food instead of eating absent-mindedly. But practicing mindfulness was not easy. In the following days he still got caught up in work, still felt stress, and still found himself lying awake at night with restless thoughts. However, unlike before, he began to recognize when his mind wandered. He no longer reacted impulsively to pressure. Instead, he tried to pause, take a deep breath, and bring himself back to the present moment. One afternoon, while sitting in his office, David looked out the window. It had started to rain. In the past, he would have ignored it or worse, felt annoyed that the streets would be crowded. But today he paused. He watched the raindrops gently rolling down the glass, listened to the rhythmic tapping of the rain. A quiet sense of peace settled within him. He also began applying mindfulness in conversations with his colleagues. In the past, he would listen while simultaneously thinking about how to respond, or worse, his mind would already be drifting to the next task. But now he made an effort to be fully present in conversations, looking into the speaker's eyes, truly listening to every word they said. And he realized that when he genuinely listened, the conversations became more meaningful, more sincere. One weekend morning, David decided to return to the small temple. This time he didn't come with any questions, nor did he expect any special teaching from the monk. He simply wanted to sit, sip a cup of tea, and experience the present moment. The monk looked at him and smiled. "You look different today." David nodded and replied gently, "I'm not sure how much I've changed, but at least I've learned how to pause and truly live in each moment." The monk didn't say anything, just slowly poured more tea into David's cup. The sound of the flowing tea, the thin wisp of rising steam, and the soft fragrance filled the air. David closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He knew there was still a long journey ahead, that there would still be difficult days and moments of restlessness. But he also knew that as long as he remembered to return to his breath, to the present moment, peace would always be there, right here, right now. David's journey was not about erasing worries or achieving a perfect state of peace. Instead, it was about learning to embrace each moment as it came, whether joyful, painful, or uncertain. He no longer sought happiness in a distant future or regretted a past he could not change. Through mindfulness, he discovered a simple but profound truth. Peace is not something to be chased, it is something to be noticed. Every moment held an opportunity to be fully present, to feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, to hear the gentle rustling of leaves, to taste the bitterness and sweetness in a cup of tea. Life did not have to be a relentless race toward some imagined success. It could be lived fully, breath by breath, moment by moment. David knew he would still face challenges. There would still be stressful days at work, restless nights, and unexpected obstacles. But he also knew that he had a choice, to meet each moment with awareness instead of resistance, with acceptance instead of fear. And in that choice he found true freedom. The past no longer bound him. The future no longer controlled him. He was here. He was now. And that was enough. David's story is not about seeking enlightenment or experiencing a sudden transformation. Instead, it is a slow, challenging but deeply realistic journey, one of moving from disconnection to rediscovering peace in the midst of a busy life. What makes this story relatable is how it reflects the reality of so many people in today's world. We are often caught in the whirlwind of work, expectations, and worries, to the point that we forget the most important thing: living in the present moment. We chase success, pursue distant goals, and fail to realize that true happiness has always been right here, in the simplest of moments. A quiet meal, the sound of rain against the window, or the warmth of a cup of tea in our hands. David did not completely change, nor did he abandon his work to seek an isolated life. He continued to live in a high-pressure world, but with a different mindset, one that allowed him to pause, to breathe, to listen, and to appreciate each moment. And it was this small yet profound shift that helped him find the peace he had been searching for all along. The message of the story is clear. Happiness is not found in the past or the future. It exists in this very moment. Peace is not a destination. It is the way we walk our path. ***.